Hello students, welcome back to the new chapter solid, liquid and gases. So you have already learned about solid, liquid and gases in your fourth standard. So the same thing we have some of the part is similar to that what you learned in fourth standard. So I'll be just recalling what you learned already in your fourth standard. So all of you know what are solid, liquid and gases, right? So if you see many things, you can see many things around yourself. So if you try to classify that things based on its different properties, you can broadly classify them into three groups. So you can find three kind of groups called as solid, liquids and gases. So solid, liquid and gases are the three states of matter, right? So they are three states of matter. If I ask you which are the three states of matter, you have to say it is solids, liquids and gases are the three states of matter. So three states of matter means what are the three different states in which the materials around you appears. So you can find either in the form of solid or in the form of liquid or in the form of gases. So if I write out some of the materials on the board here, you can easily classify them into solid, liquid and gases. So here I have written some of the materials on the board. Just try to identify them into solid, liquid and gases. So I have written first a stone. So how is a stone? Stone will be hard, right? It will be having a particular shape, and if you touch the stone, you can feel it is having hardness. So we can classify stone into the group of solid. So they belong to solids. So what about the next one, juice? So juice, you can drink it. It can flow. You can drink it. So you can pour from one container to another container, and it will have the shape of the container, what you learned in your last year, right? So if you have some properties like that, we can call that as to be liquids. So they are called as liquids. They are liquids. What about smoke? So does the smoke have any particular shape? No, right? It can move freely anywhere. So smoke can move very freely anywhere. So we can classify that kind of materials, property which is having that kind of properties. We can classify the materials which having that kind of properties as gas. So they belong to the matter called as they are gases. So next is water. Even the water like juice, it can also flow. You can drink the water, right? So you can pour the water from one container to another. The water can flow. Water take the shape of the container. So we can say that water is also a liquid. What about vapors? Water vapors, you have seen the steam. Water vapors which is coming from the hot cup of tea or hot water. So that also can, water vapor also can move freely. Even they don't have any particular shape, right? So even this belongs to which group? It belongs to gas or gases. Next is book. Book is having a shape, right? It's having either rectangular shape or it will be having a square shape, right? And it will be a bit hard when compared to the liquid and gases. It's hard. So we can classify book also under the group of solids. So any materials if you see in your surroundings, it may be either in the form of solid or in the form of liquid, or it may be in the form of gases. So how we can classify this material as solid, liquid and gases that you learned already in your last classes. So we'll be recalling the same thing in your this chapter, solid, liquid and gases. So how are the particles in the solids arranged? So I said every materials will be having made up of very, very, very small particles. If you take this chalk piece and crush into powder, you get the smallest particles, right? So that kind of many particles will be there in one big chalk piece. So it will contain lots of particles. So even the liquid also contain particles, even the gas also contains small particles. So how, why they are solid, why they can flow, why they can move freely. So that is based on how the particles are arranged in that matter. So let us see how the particles are arranged in solids. In solids, you can see the particles are arranged in such a manner. You can see the particles. So what I have done by using a blue color rounds, they can be considered to be as particles. So how are the particles arranged in this solids? So you can see they have been very closely packed. So all the particles are very closely packed and they are very tightly packed. So as if in a bench, how many of them can sit? In a bench in your classrooms, maybe 4 members sits there. So if you make 6 to 7 members to sit in the same bench, how it will be? You will be very tightly sitting, right? So you'll be very closely packed. Same manner, even in the solids also, the particles are very closely packed. So how is the solids particle? They are very tightly or closely packed. So because of this arrangement of particles in the solids, that is, they are tightly packed, so they have a particular shape. So when we pack something very tightly and closely, it will be getting a particular shape. So apple is an example here. Apple is having a shape, right? So by looking at the shape, you can say it is an apple. So why it is having a shape is because apple is a solid. The particles in the apple is tightly arranged. So here I take the example of stone. So even stone, it is having a particular shape. And like apple, even stone is very much hard, right? It is very hard. So even the stone is having a shape, right? The shape does not change if you put a stone into another container. The shape remains same. The shape of the apple does not change if you give it to somebody else. It will be the same. So the solids, the particles are arranged closely and they have a particular fixed shape. What about liquids? In liquids, you can see here the particles are arranged. They have some spaces between the particles, right? So they are not very closely packed. They are not tightly packed. They have spaces between the particles. So they are loosely arranged. In case of solid, they are tightly arranged. In case of liquid, they are loosely arranged. So since they are loosely arranged, they can move from one place to another. The particles of the liquid can move. Why they can move is because they are freely arranged. They are free to move. So in a bench, as I said, if you are sitting 7 members in a bench, you will be very much tightly packed. Instead of 7 members, if only 4 members are sitting, you can sit very freely in that bench, right? If it is a long bench, 4 members can easily move here and there, and you can move according to your wish and you can sit in that bench. So in the same manner, even in the liquid also, the particles are freely arranged so that it can move from one place to another. So that is the reason why the liquid can flow. The liquid can flow. When you pour from one container to another container, the liquid will flow, right? The river is flowing, the water will be flowing. So why it can move like that is because the particles in the liquids are freely arranged, as you can see in the juice, right? So juice you can pour from one container to another container. And what will be the shape of the liquid? Do they have any particular shape? Can you say the shape of this juice? It is having the shape of this container. Whichever container you are pouring into, it will take the shape of that container. If I pour into a container which is having a cylindrical shape, imagine I am pouring the juice into a container which is having a cylindrical shape. So now, it will take the shape of cylinder. So here the shape is different, here the shape is different. So the shape of the liquid will be depending on the container into which they have been poured, because they will take the shape of the container by moving and arranging the particles according to the shape of the container. So what you have understood here? Liquids are freely arranged. The particles are freely arranged and they can flow because the particles are freely arranged and they don't have a fixed shape. They take the shape of the container into which they have been poured. So now if we take the example of, so here if we take the example of liquid, we have written juice as well as water. So these both are example for liquid. You can take the example of milk, or it may be the petrol, diesel, all this belongs to liquid itself. Now the gases. So how is the gas? You have seen the smoke of the incense stick when you burn, right? When you do pujas and all, when you burn the camphor or when you burn the incense sticks or agabatis, you can see the smoke coming out. So how will be the smoke moving? It will be moving freely here and there, anywhere, right? So if your mother prepares some nice dishes in your kitchen, you get the smell to your room, right? So how it is that? Because the particle of that cooked food in the form of vapor, it is reaching to your nose. It can freely move anywhere in the room, right? It can freely move. Why it can move freely? Because the gases, particles of the gas are very freely arranged. You can see here and there, you can see the particles. So it doesn't have any shape. Whatever, it will not have a fixed shape. So here also if I take the example of you people sitting in a bench. In a bench, if you are 7 members tightly packed, will become like solid. If it is 4 members loosely packed, you can sit freely, so you will become liquid. If it is only 2 members have, you can move very freely here and there in the a long bench. Such a long bench, only 2 members, or if it is only 1 member, you can very freely move in that bench, right? Same manner, even the gas particles also, they can freely move because they are very freely and arranged very far. The particles are arranged far away from each other and they can move very freely. So, example is the air filled inside the balloon, or it may be a smoke, or it may be the any other kind of water vapors coming out from the hot water, or vapors which you can see about the teacups. So all this belongs to the group of gases. So here I have taken the example of smoke as gas, and I have taken the example of vapors, water vapor as gas. So these are the difference between the 3 states of matter, that is solids, liquids and gases. So here in your reader, in page number 47, they have given a picture here. So they are showing that, so there is a glass of, they have taken a tumbler into which they have poured hot water. Above that they have kept a plate, and above the plate they have kept some ice cubes. So you know ice cubes is having which shape? It is having a cube shape, right? So it is solid. So it is having a particular shape, means it is which state? It is in solid state. So if you place this ice cubes over the plate which is being kept over a tumbler containing hot water. So when you place something over the hot water, ice cubes over the hot water, what happens to the ice cubes? So it will absorb the heat from that hot water and slowly it start to melt. You can see in that picture the ice is melting. So when the ice is melting, what you can see, the melted water is flowing. So when it is flowing, what we call it as? It is liquid, right? Which can flow is liquid. When it was solid, were it flowing? Was it flowing? It was not flowing. Ice cannot flow. Whereas when the ice melt, it can flow. So that means when it is in ice form, it is in solid state. When it is in melted form, it is in liquid state. And what you can see inside the tumbler from the hot water, inside the tumbler, hot water, you can see the vapors coming up, right? The vapors is hitting to the surface of the plate, right? So there you can see the vapors is hitting to the surface of the plate. So when it is hitting, so water vapors is moving very freely. So what is the state of the water vapor now? It is gaseous state. That's why it can move freely and it can reach the surface of the plate. You can see in that picture. So you can see the solid, liquid and gases. So even the hot water is in which form? Hot water inside the tumbler is taking the shape of the container. Something which is taking the shape of a container, we can call it as liquid, right? So the hot water which is inside the tumbler, we can call it as the liquid. So you can find all the 3 states here, solid, liquid and gas. As well as you can see the change of state of matter also here. As I told you in the last year class already, change in state of matter. We can change from solid to liquid, we can change from liquid to gas, or we can change gas to liquid, we can change liquid to solid. So same thing, both can happen. Solid can be changed to liquid and liquid can be changed to gas. Similarly, gas can be changed to liquid and liquid can be changed back to solid. So you can see the change in state of matter also here. So ice is solid state. When it has been heated, it is melting. So solid is changing to liquid there, right? By melting, you are changing solid to liquid. So you can see the change in solid to liquid state. And in the hot water, in the tumbler, you can see water vapor. Water vapor is reaching the surface of the glass plate over the tumbler. So that glass plate is very cold now, right? Why it is cold? Because you have placed some ice cubes over that. So it is cold. So when the water vapor is touching the surface of the plate, when the water vapor is touching the surface of the plate, so water vapor is gas, and what is happening to the gas when it touches the surface of the plate? It is becoming cooling, it is being cooled. When it is cooled, what happens to the gas? Gas changes to liquid. You learned in your last year, right? So gas turns to liquid on cooling. What do you call that as? Gas turning to liquid on cooling is called as condensation. It is called as condensation. What is condensation? It is a process wherein gas is turning to liquid on cooling. That's called as condensation. And you can see the liquid changing to vapor. The hot water from the surface of hot water you can see the vapors. So what is happening there? Liquid is changing to gas. How the liquid will change to gas? Only if it is hot. You have to heat it. So then the liquid changes to gas. So what is that called as? Conversion of liquid to gas. Conversion of liquid to gas is called as evaporation, right? So it's called as evaporation. So these are all the things what you have learned already in your previous classes. So by this picture you can fill in the blanks which is given on the page number 47. That will be your homework. So just do the homework and you can click a picture of that and you can send it to me. So that will be the end of this session. The next session will be learning much about solid, liquid and gases. So I'll meet you in the next class. Thank you.